Remember the old REM song, Losing My Religion? Well, an increasing number of Americans are changing their religion. A Public Religion Research Institute survey found that nearly 1 out of 4 Americans said they'd either changed their religious traditions or denominations within their lifetime or recently. That's up by 50% over 2021. More than half said they switched because they stopped believing in the teachings of the faith that they followed. 39% of those without religious affiliation said they left the Catholic Church. 28% said they'd been in a non-evangelical Protestant church. And no surprise here, but younger people, those of Generation Z, are shunning religion or switching faster than other Americans.
So let me ask you a question. Let's get down to it. I wouldn't say it's disturbing. You know what I'm saying? But I'm gonna ask you to explain it because a lot of people have been seeing 666 on your Instagram. You know, everybody always be like, yo, that's the mark of the beast. What is your meaning of 666?
666, it's a movement for black people. It has nothing to do with the devil. You know, it's positive things, 6 protons, 6 electrons, and 6 neutrons. It stands for black people. They can do their research on it, but it has nothing to do with the devil. I don't promote negative things like that.
Okay, because I was trying to figure it out, because people's like, man, Sabe worship the devil. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm not having Satan come in this room and interview with me. Don't put no Satan on me, man.
So there's a real science to it. So you breaking it down to where did you get that knowledge from?
Man, actually my uncle, he's a Freemason, and he told me that knowledge, and I just did my research on it, you know, and then I just ran with it. You feel me? I just want to unify the black people again.
Right, and see,
that's me in the corner, that's me in the spotlight, losing my religion, losing my religion, losing my religion.
As we continue to move throughout these days, we can begin to see that the world is being segmented. It honestly is the weirdest thing, because as you see the world growing in division and growing in conflict with one another, you also see the world coming together at the same time around a common thought and mindset. That thought that the world is coming together under is a mindset of rejection against the Most High, Yahuwah. You see, many people are divided amongst different controversial issues, divided over politics, divided by income and class, divided by race, divided by religion, even divided by church denominations. But while there are many different issues that divide this world, the one most agreeable thing within the masses is that the Most High Yahuwah is not the answer to their issues and what is going on in this world. Now let's be clear that this does not mean that people don't believe in God. Absolutely not. Everyone has their own idea of what and who is God to them. It's like that stupid saying going around, no one believed I could do it, but God did. Using that dumb DJ Khaled reference. God did. People believe in God. They just don't care about the Most High. And today, we are seeing a great deal of people with their own form of morality and living how they feel is right in their own eye, and they claim their belief in God whenever it is convenient for them. But they are not accountable to anyone or anything, especially the God that they say they believe in. You see, people love the idea of believing in God while not feeling like they should be held accountable by Him for their decisions. They love a God that does not judge them. That is because the God that they believe in is not the Most High, Yahuwah. It is not the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the God of Yasharel. The masses are united in their rejection of Yahuwah, and though they are divided over many things, they are united in the main agenda that has been waged against them. Through at least the last 4 generations, there has been a massive secret agenda of religious conversion being waged against humanity. The world as a whole has been pushed into a satanic conversion of our beliefs and our values. We have been converted to accept a false light that has been getting brighter by the day. Most people don't recognize that this is an agenda that has been waged against us for well over a century. And we are now at a point where the world has been converted. And the simple truth is that if you do not clearly know the side that you're on, then be clear you are on the side of the enemy, because there are no gray areas with this. There are either those who serve and believe in Yahuwah and those who serve Satan. But there's also many in the middle that reject Yahuwah but don't want to consider themselves serving and believing in Satan. And that's only just because they don't really recognize his influence or his doctrine. That's that gray area I was just referring to. Most people don't even really want to believe that Satan exists, and so they're on his side unknowingly. It doesn't really matter what they believe and if they believe it or not. Because they reject Yahuwah, they are still on the side of the enemy. There is a truth that people need to understand and grasp. The world has changed. The world many people think they are fighting for does not exist. There has been a conversion of beliefs and values in this world, and if you do not understand it and don't clearly know how to stand against it, it's because you, yourself, were also converted. There are many different agendas that have gotten us to this point. So, before the world is reset and people are herded into whatever other agendas they have planned for everybody, it's important that those who truly desire not to go down with the sinking ship clearly understand what has been happening and the agendas that have come against humanity to convert everyone in their false satanic light. There is only one option in this world, and if you want to overcome, you need to come into the truth and reject the false light being spread. I'm going to explain this conversion so that those who have been unwillingly influenced by it can come out of it now. Let's begin. Okay, so we're finally in the month of July. Over the past few years, they've made the month of June pretty much unbearable. This year, I did notice a shift though, and it was very telling. Things have gotten worse. And it's not just with the many celebrations of rebellion that was taking place, not with the government of this country actually reinforcing all of that rebellion.
I want to send a message to the entire community, especially to transgender children. You are loved. You are heard. You are understood. And you belong.
It wasn't the annoyance of them making this fake federal holiday, Juneteenth, what Biden called Black History Month.
Tonight's performers helped us feel the power of Juneteenth, Black Music Month, among other things.
For me personally, it got past me that they made this holiday. But apparently those Greeks I mentioned last week found a cause that made them look like they did something for their people. Whatever though. That wasn't the shift either. The shift was that the narrative has been fully changed, and the lines and sides of this spiritual war have been drawn. The other day, I was watching CNBC, and this woman, a CEO, was speaking, and she showed me that the narrative was fully set against those who are holding on to their values. As they spoke about the war on woke, she made it clear that the major corporations have their own set values, and those against their values are extremists and bullies.
Those companies, there are hundreds of companies that are still running pride campaigns, and there are many companies that stood up to these extremist bullies and actually didn't see any problems because they didn't back down. And I think we're talking about companies like North Face, Nike, Walmart, Cracker Barrel, NASCAR, the Sesame Street, who saw these bullies and extremists coming for them and stood their ground.
You think the problem was that Target sort of backed down? That was the issue?
Great. Yeah, you might as well be on the schoolyard. As soon as a bully comes to you and threatens you, if you back down, you give them more room. If you stand your ground and say, you're not going to threaten me, you're not going to bully me, these are our values, these are the values that we stand with, then you go someplace else. Then that changes the game. And we've seen it with the corporations. It's absolutely from them backing down. Some meetings with them, I said, welcome to being LGBTQ in America today. We're all concerned for our safety right now with these extremists.
And this is kind of what we're seeing with the whole DeSantis versus Disney thing. These corporations are pushing social agendas. But anyway, the major corporations have made it clear that they have values, and those that are against their values are going to be labeled as extremists and bullies. I don't know when the separation and divide was so clearly defined, but it is clearly here now. That woman spoke with authority on this, and nobody gave her any kind of pushback on those labels and asking her, well, what if they just have a different opinion than you? There was no pushback. There was only her side. and it is something that everyone needs to come to terms with as you deal with this world. It is very important that people identify the culture and values of America and understand what it is that they are supporting. I have been unambiguously clear in my explanation that I believe that this country is the prophesied end times nation of Mystery Babylon. The scripture says, "And he cried mightily with a loud voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, and has become a dwelling place of demons, a prison for every foul spirit, and a cage for every unclean and hated bird. For all the nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. The kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth have become rich through the abundance of her luxury." It's Revelation chapter 18, verses 2 and 3. It calls Mystery Babylon a dwelling place of demons and a prison for every foul spirit. This end times nation will have all the nations drunk off of her wine, off of her influence. And what is the one biggest thing that America exports the most? It's its culture. If you ever travel out of the country, people love trying to identify with you by showing you that they know America's culture.
Oh, I wish they all could be California girls.
The television shows, the movies, the music, the social values, etc., etc. Whatever the values and beliefs of this nation are, is what is being exported and spread all over the world. And this makes it easy to understand how the world has become so evil over the generations. I always say, look at someone who comes from another country. Give them a few years in this country, and they will go back a completely different person. You see, we are what we eat. And so, by consequence, if the people who have been feeding us have been removing all the nutrients out of our food and then replacing it with junk, you are going to see an unhealthy society. And once this is really understood, it should be a wake-up call. We should be able to see that this is exactly what has been going on with us for decades. Let me explain. Though America is one of the wealthiest nations in the world, it also is one of the most unhealthiest. It has one of the highest obesity rates in the world. It's no mystery why either. Ask yourself, what is the most well-known but most expensive grocery store in this country? Whole Foods. They don't hide it. They have made good food, whole foods, more expensive. But the more easily made and attained processed foods are cheaper and easier to buy. They have us counting calories when we should be actually counting chemicals. I mean, look at the back of the foods that you're consuming and look at the ingredients and think about those chemicals you know nothing about that they have deemed to be safe to eat. It's a lot. And now they have allowed our food producers to make lab-grown meat, taking it even a step further than genetically modified. They are producing our foods in labs, giving us food that has no nutritional value in it. And I don't even know if they're forced to even let us know that this food that we're eating is made in a lab or not. The point I'm making is that we are what we eat. So with all they have done with our foods, it's no mystery why we have a high obesity rate. And in the poorest communities, this is where you see the most unhealthy people, because they just can't afford the good foods. It's not that they want to eat bad, they can't afford good food. So they're unhealthy. We are what we eat. And if you just understand that overall point, and then you apply it to everything else, you can then understand how this conversion has taken place. You see, everything that we have been fed, both mentally and spiritually, has led to spiritual obesity. The world is full. They're filled up on satanic values that they are addicted to. They can't stop taking it in. Our values are completely changed, and people are so distracted that they don't know what they should stand on. I'm seeing more and more people going to school board meetings and town hall meetings, fighting with their local governments on what values they are being allowed to teach their children in the schools. People actually trying to petition these governments to stop allowing certain values to be spread. It's because we don't recognize that our values and beliefs have been converted. This is the country we live in now. And because the masses are not fully on the side of the Most High, they don't recognize that they're the problems. They are easily squashed and defeated.
This week's skirmish, which California's governor called an organized campaign of hate, is just the latest in a series of violent confrontations during Pride Month. Just days ago, protesters clashed outside an LA elementary school where a pride flag was burned.
They're trying to fight for decency while they remove what's decent. while they remove what's pure.
The King James Version of the Bible has been removed from multiple Davis District schools. This after a committee found it contained both vulgarity and violence.
They want the good while they don't accept him. You have to come to terms with the world that you're dealing with. So many people are expecting rational thought in a mad world. Like you want people to do the right things, not teach your children sexual topics, not put certain things on the television and commercials. Just stop doing evil and making it so clear. So many people have an expectation really that these things that just seem crazy, eventually that they're just gonna go away because they feel good will always defeat evil. And yes, it is true that good will defeat evil. But the thing that everyone needs to come to understand and come to terms with is that maybe that they themselves are on the side of evil and they don't really recognize it. It's because people have many different definitions of what evil is. People live completely double-minded and live in continuous hypocrisy. I want you to think about it. How many people do you know that does not have tolerance for gay men, but will tolerate lesbians, especially if they think they have a chance to be in the mix with them? They have different standards for both. How many people do you know speak against cops killing black people in their neighborhoods, but then stand with a sign speaking of my body, my choice, as they advocate for abortions? How many people speak against crack, cocaine, and heroin, but spend their lives begging doctors for cocaine and heroin in a smaller dose or a different form? How many people don't want their children to be criminals or sex workers, but they watch that activity on their televisions at home with their children in the same room? They'll literally watch it on television, but they don't want them to be this way. The point I'm making is that there is strong hypocrisy in the minds of the population. People are looking to take certain stands against sins they don't want to deal with, but will knowingly accept others that they enjoy and that they like. They agree to the amount of sin that they feel is acceptable, and then they hypocritically speak against the other sin that they feel that they just can't deal with. It makes them feel like they're standing on something and they have a high moral ground, while in fact they stand on nothing. They're hypocrites. That's because at some point they became their own God. Let me ask you, how do you define sin? Where does your moral compass get set from? What is the foundation your values are based upon? Who sets your standards? Are your values based on what is popular or more accepted? It is important to really have an answer to these questions. Now, I know that many people will say, well, the Bible is my foundation. I know that's the easiest thing for people to say. But the truth is that people don't really believe that. They're just saying it. I mean, do you know how many people I deal with in the comments that say that the Bible is their foundation, but then they argue about doing the things that are actually said in there? The religion of mainstream Christianity is completely all about that. They say with one side of their mouth that they believe in the Bible and want to do what it says, and that the Bible has the last say for them, but then their lives that they actually live are completely different from everything written inside of it. It's pure hypocrisy. And we can see that very clearly when we think about the older generations that pretty much fill up the pews in all these churches. These same ones in these church pews are completely led by political thoughts more than biblical ones. Like in the black community, being black and racial equality is more important than biblical values. So because the Democratic Party panders to racial issues, they support the most wicked, evil agendas that the world has ever seen, just so they can have a museum and a federal holiday. The Bible isn't their last say. Their skin color is an idol, and that is the main mover in their life. This is what they stand on more than anything. The truth is that there would be no liberal agenda in this country that had strength without the black church. This is the first place that Democratic politicians go to get their votes. So obviously the Bible is not what gives these people their values and their convictions first. Or on the flip side, how many people want to look at my videos as being all about race because they don't want to deal with the atrocities and hatred that their parents, their grandparents, and their great parents did to Yah's scattered chosen people? They don't even want to consider some of the things I bring up. When this topic is brought up, they don't want to have values of love or true empathy to the poor and the oppressed. They love to say, well, you know, white people were slaves too in this world and we got over it. So many people actually say this in the comments, forgetting that after slavery and when they gave that fake freedom to the slaves, these people that were said to be free were still oppressed. They were not given any rights. They were lynched, their communities burned, they were racially segregated, hosed down. This was after slavery and freedom was given to them. But those that say that the Bible is their foundation will tell those that were oppressed that it wasn't that big of a deal. Instead of empathizing with them and praying with them and understanding how hard it actually was for this community and all the consequences that have come from that oppression. They don't even want to think like that. There is no love in many of their hearts. Their values are not about helping the downtrodden, as Yahusha says. They say they love Jesus, but for many, his love is not truly in their hearts, because if it was, they would understand the plight and oppression that has come over certain people in this country. They never rationalize those same thoughts to victims of the Holocaust. It's because there's a different type of empathy. There's a different type of feeling towards those people. You know what Yahusha said would happen when he judges the nations? Then he will also say to those on the left hand, "Depart from me, you cursed, into the everlasting fire prepared for the devil and his angels. For I was hungry, and you gave me no food. I was thirsty, and you gave me no drink. I was a stranger, and you did not take me in. Naked, and you did not clothe me. Sick, and in prison, and you did not visit me." Then they will also answer him, saying, "Adonai, when did we see you hungry, or thirst, or a stranger, or naked, or sick, or in prison, and did not minister to you?" Then he will answer them, saying, "Assuredly, I say to you, inasmuch as you did not do it to one of the least of these, you did not do it to me. And these will go away into everlasting punishment, but the righteous into eternal life." That's Matthew chapter 25, verses 41 through 46. The point I'm making is that hypocrisy is everywhere. People are lying to themselves, and they need to stop. They knowingly are eating what is poisonous and unhealthy to them. But because they are spiritually obese, fed off satanic false light, they cannot let go of that poison. This should be easy to see if your eyes are open to everything that we're seeing in this world. But if not, let me help you. And please, if you have children watching or you're extra sensitive to the wickedness, skip to the next chapter in this video because these examples are pretty wicked. Let's look at what is in our movies. Consistent evil, debauchery, sex, filth, idolatry, cursing, just lawlessness in abundance. The same goes for our television shows. In television, they're actually worse. They're using this medium even more now to tell stories through series that make us rationalize and understand evil. We start understanding the minds of the wicked and evil men, like from The Sopranos, taking us into the mind of a crime boss, even having us in his psychology sessions. They want us to think like them, and understand their thoughts, and rationalize it. Like that show Dexter. I mean, that content is purely manipulative. This is a serial killer who continues to kill because he was getting vengeance that the system couldn't get. They want us to be torn between what they say is right and what they say is wrong, and that we justify his wickedness and his sins.
And on the other hand, it's about targeting victims who are arguably at least deserving. Dexter goes after killers. You could argue that he's preventing more deaths than he's causing.
Yeah, he's a good killer.
Yeah.
He's taking out the bad off the streets.
That's right.
Well, what about that series Snowfall? Taking us through the life of people who sold out the community for wealth and power. But you come to understand it because they were just trying to make a better life for their own self through pure selfishness. So much of our television shows show this, manipulating our minds to accept, to rationalize, and understand sin and rebellion. All these examples are horrible, but the worst part is our music is even worse. Our music is absolutely ridiculous. Being ratchet is just what people think is our culture now. The music videos are actually disgusting. To think that these children might be watching these things and being influenced by them. Whatever children are watching those music videos and listen to this music, I sincerely want them to stay away from my children. It's all truly sad and scary to think that our youth is listening to this and being influenced by this daily. The things that we're seeing would not be allowed 50 years ago. So why do you think it's being allowed now? It's because we have been converted. We have become more accepting of satanic values and beliefs. The world has been partially converted to Satanism, with the main difference being that there still is a belief in God with the world as a whole. But the thing is that because the majority of people in this world don't recognize or understand the doctrines and values of Satanism, they think it's about really just worshiping the devil, they will reject this understanding about them being converted into satanic doctrine. They're not going to want to hear it, and they're going to rationalize and say that this is wrong. But the truth is simple. Most of the values that people hold today are doctrines of the Church of Satan. More people align with the doctrines of the Church of Satan more than they do with what we call Christianity. There's just a lot of hypocrites in the pews. People believing in indulgence instead of abstinence, vengeance instead of turning the other cheek, living and embracing sin, doing what they want to do. Those are satanic values. The world has been unknowingly converted to a secular doctrine of satanic values. And the thing is that they don't and won't recognize it because Satanism is not spread the same as mainstream religion is. They are not out there on corners spreading their beliefs for the most part. They are working behind the scenes in our governments, in our schools, in our churches, quietly and subtly working against our ways, our mindsets, and values. They don't even like telling you how many people are actually a part of the Church of Satan, and they don't like really talking about who's a member, who's not. It doesn't work that way. They don't need everyone to declare that they're Satanists. They just need everyone to worship themselves, to put themselves above everything else. It's about the doctrine and living in it. They want to spread the doctrine, that way of life. It does not matter to them how the understanding and the mindsets came to be transmitted. These people are walking around telling you that they're coming for our children. They're coming for your children. But the masses are not strong enough to combat them. And so we are now living in a world that many people that we know and see are actually Satanists, but they, for the most part themselves, are completely unaware of it. They don't desire to actually practice Satanism, but they still do nonetheless. Satanism is liberation. But the thing that must be recognized is that what the person is liberating themselves from is the dominion, the authority, and the control of the Most High. They say and believe that their view and the way that they want to live their life is what matters the most. You see, when we live our lives away from what our Creator has deemed important for us, we are making our own selves gods and seeking our own will. And this is precisely what people have accepted and converted into. And if you don't recognize it, it's because you're converted too. Everyone that keeps saying to each his own, or do what you want, or live your life the way you want to live, these are all satanic values that people are always spreading. People have been converted into an acceptance of false satanic ideals and beliefs, and it's time that it is identified if they don't want that to be. The world has been engaging and plotting against those who do not know the God that they say they serve, and what He truly desires and requires of us. You need to understand that it's possible that you have been conditioned mentally and spiritually to be against the Most High, even though you may personally feel that you love Him or you honor Him. That is because you don't truly know Him. You know of Him and you know some key points, but you don't know Him. The majority of the world is under a spiritual delusion that they are being made ready to accept the Antichrist. And that's why we see Satan everywhere, and nobody really knows the difference. And some people can call out the devil and say that they're tired of seeing the devil, but that's just a game that they're playing with you.
As much as I'm supposed to be promoting this movie and talking about my album, I just feel like we're in competition right now because they are trying to normalize the devil. They are trying to populate. The devil is on the main stage at award shows and in every video and signs and symbols. And I said, you know what? We need to stop treating our relationship with Jesus like the little buddy that you talk to before you go to bed at night, and not be more vocal about all the things that God means to us and all of the things that God has brought us through. Because there's been a lot of moments that you didn't post about. But yet you know, how did God decide to get me through this?
Yeah, man.
And yeah, they going above and beyond to promote the devil. And it's pissing me off because the devil worshipers used to be real secretive, going down in the basement, this secret world. Now they just
they on the device too.
Yeah. How many people do you see can talk about worshiping God or they're thanking God?
I'd like to thank God for this experience and all my experiences.
Calling themselves believers, but their life is in complete opposition of Him. The other day, I saw a headline about Pharrell making a gospel song. I don't know why they labeled it a gospel because he said nothing about the gospel. He just talked about blessings, and that is very general. People keep talking about worshiping God, but they live completely opposite of what he says in his word. It's because the God that they're talking about is not the same God that you might be thinking of. The whole world is under the sway of the evil one, and most people sadly don't have a clue. There is a clear, defined separation between those who are living fully in the truth and those who are part of this world. And right now, they are preparing to call the true believers extremists and bullies. They are ready to make sure that those who stand on certain values will be ostracized and looked upon as evil in this world. And the masses are going to believe them because they're deceived by all these sellouts and these false apostles and these false believers. Tyrese says Jesus a little bit, prays for Kim Burrell, and all of a sudden people think he's a believer and a representative of the faith, even though he just came out with Fast and the Furious 10, a movie that promotes continuous sin. Like I said, Pharrell does a song called Joy, talking about blessings, and people think it's a worship song about the same God. It's ridiculous. Let me be clear. Yahuwah is the God of the Bible. He is the Most High. In the mainstream world, everyone, for the most part, that perpetrates as a Christian, saying that they're a believer, just because you hear them saying God or even Jesus, you want to believe that they're speaking about the God of the Bible, Yahuwah, but they're not. They are speaking about Satan.
I have to thank God for just this experience and for my family and my friends and for my boyfriend that's here with me tonight.
I'm very, very blessed.
Glory be to God. I claim this victory in the name of the Lord.
God, I always do that when I'm up on a big platform in front of a bunch of young faces. I say, I love God. That's my thing. I love him.
Independence means you do it by yourself, but independence means freedom. I do it with these folks right here. Glory be to God. I claim the victory in the name of the Lord. Let's go.
I'd like to thank God for this experience and all my experiences.
They're thanking Satan openly. When they're saying, look how God works, they're talking about Satan. He is the one blessing them. You think it's Yah blessing Tyrese with Fast and the Furious 10? Satan is the one you can do whatever you want with, and he will still bless you and prosper you as long as you're working for him and you provide value to him. He is the one that doesn't require anything from you except rebellion against Yahuwah. You need to know that if you can't recognize the difference when these people are talking about God versus knowing what the Bible says, then you are a converted Satanist. Or maybe not even converted, but you've been one all your life. There is a conversion that you have to be real about. There is a conversion that has happened. That is that when most people are talking spiritually or speaking about God, and they're not being really specific and explaining biblical doctrine, they are actually Satanists introducing you to their God. It is because we are about to enter into a new world order. And when people are calling on God, they are calling on the God of this world. And indeed, if our good news has been veiled, it has been veiled in those who are perishing, whose minds the God of this world has blinded, who do not believe, lest the light of the good news of the glory of the Messiah, who is the image of Elohim, should shine on them. That's 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verses 3 and 4. You see, all these people are perishing, blinded by the God of this world, and a majority of the people you know are blinded by this. I've been going over lesson after lesson, trying to expose darkness that is in plain sight, but lives in secrecy. It's right in our face that the world is in rebellion, and they want to attack your faith and make sure that you are not ready for Yahusha. So many of y'all live in a religion and follow religious practices, and you think that is what is important. But that's not where the Most High resides. He is not in your man-made religions. If you truly love Yahuwah and are claiming salvation through his son whom he sent, you actually need to know Yah. Your understanding and your relationship with him cannot contradict the word. Your claim of being led by the Holy Spirit does not come with rejection of the scriptures. He desires obedience. And all of you that feel you can do whatever you want and he will accept you, you are playing a dangerous game with your soul. Everyone out here is claiming to know God and be believers, but they don't want to follow anything he has commanded or said. It has been prophesied many times about this. Therefore, Yahuwah said, Inasmuch as these people draw near with their mouths and honor me with their lips, but have removed their hearts from me, and their fear toward me is taught by the commandment of men. That's Isaiah chapter 29, verse 13. You see, we're at a time where the God that the world knows is taught by the commandments of men. But people cannot recognize this because they never read the word for themselves. People live in pride and arrogance, all claiming to know Yah, but all they know are doctrines and commandments of men. And if your understanding of Yah is based more upon what you have heard about him in church or in religious points, if you only know about him by word of mouth and not through an actual relationship based on faith and obedience to his word, you are deceived, and you need to recognize it. The world has been converted. The majority are prepared to accept a satanic figure that will speak things that they are all looking to hear. They're looking for someone who will speak about a fair economic system, someone who will bring equality for all people, someone who will care about social justice and help fix the problems that racism created, someone who will love and accept all beliefs and all religions, that will talk about peace and harmony, someone who is tolerant of all views and ideas and only speaks about love. That is the person that the world is being prepared to accept and who the world is waiting for. Yahuwah is not that. He loves his creation, but he will judge those who have rejected him and have blasphemed the Holy Spirit. He's not trying to fix the world. He's coming to set it on fire. He does not care about your equality and your social issues. He chose one nation in this world as the apple of his eye, and he has made a covenant with them only. But he has blessed the world to allow anyone from the other nations who truly love him also to be heirs of those same promises. He is not playing according to the rules that you have set for him, and the nerve of us to think that he would. We are living according to the rules he has set. He is going to judge this world, and you can play religion all you want. If you don't know him and you have not accepted his gift of salvation truly, you will share the same fate as the God of this world will. It is time that you come into reality and understand the world you live in and the side that you are on. The world is moving towards change that will bring most to either death without repentance or declaration of satanic alliance. What is it that you stand for? What is it that you believe? It's time that you stop merely saying you believe and actually stand on it. If you can't clearly explain your belief in Yah and why you believe, then you don't truly believe. It's fake. And I'm not coming at you or trying to judge you, but I'm trying to keep it real with you because this is not a game. A long time ago, these times that we're in were prophesied of. Scripture says this about humanity. But know this, that in the last days, perilous times will come. For men will be lovers of themselves, lovers of money, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, unloving, unforgiving, slanderers, without self-control, brutal, despisers of good, traitors, headstrong, haughty, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God, having a form of godliness but denying its power. And from such people turn away. That's 2 Timothy chapter 3, verses 1-5. This describes more people than we'd like to admit. Lovers of themselves. That's Satanism. We already ran over that. Lovers of money. That's what most Americans are. They'll do anything for money, and they'll accept and understand everyone else that does anything for money. Boasters and proud. Just scroll on social media. That's very easy to see. Blasphemers. Yeah, that's clear. Disobedient to parents. Easy to see. Unthankful. Another one that's easy to see. For me personally, I don't know how many conversations I have had with people because they're so spoiled and ungrateful and unthankful. They don't recognize that they don't care when people are doing good things for them. Unholy. Not being set apart. Just being a part of this world in every way possible. Unloving. The world is like this, period. There's no love anymore, even though everyone keeps throwing this word out. Being unforgiving. This goes along with being unloving. Some of the biggest perpetrators of this are Christians, which is extremely hypocritical. I know too many believers that claim to be big-time Christians, but don't know how to forgive at all. Their first response is to cut you off and hate you. It's disgusting. Despisers of good. There is literally a song by Diddy called Act Bad. People hate being good. Lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God. Again, the satanic principle of indulgence is easy to see here. People want to do what they want to do. The Most High is an afterthought for them. People love having a form of godliness but deny its power. And that's what I've been trying to explain here. People want to have, and they want you to look at them as having a form of godliness, that they care about Yah and that they love him. But they also deny his power and his dominion over their lives, over other aspects that they don't want to give up yet. They want to look like they are believers, but they don't want to give full authority to the power that they're claiming to believe in. This is the world that we're in. And it's time that everyone wakes up and understand that you do not want to be one of these people that we must turn away from. But I'll tell you what needs to happen. We must follow the scripture more than ever. And all these people that are like this, we must turn away from and separate ourselves from. Stand out and be set apart. That does not mean you cannot be there for these people and minister to them. But in these last days, we must separate ourselves from evil and rebellion. If they are converted into lawlessness and rebellion, you cannot be unequally yoked with them. Remember, your glorying is not good. Do you not know that a little leaven leavens the whole lump? That's 1 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 6. We can no longer coddle or enable those in rebellion of Yah. We must stand on what we believe in. Just as this lady was saying what she's going to do for her beliefs.
If you stand your ground and say, you're not going to threaten me, you're not going to bully me, these are our values, these are the values that we stand with, then you go someplace else, then that changes the game.
We, who are truly the righteousness of Elohim, we should have even more conviction than the wicked does. The world has been converted into a satanic belief system that is paving the way for the Antichrist. This has been prophesied to happen and we cannot stop it. The only thing we can do is be ones that are opposite of it, being a standing force and example of the power of Yah, ready to show his true, marvelous light and prepare those who love him for his kingdom. It's time everyone step into reality and stop lying to yourselves. Be true to yourself on what you believe and how you have believed, and then fix it if it needs to be fixed. Turn to Yah, believe and repent, and be ready for his kingdom. Just because the world is living false and their values are foul does not mean you need to be a part of them. Stand up strong and be set apart and prepare yourself. For the kingdom of Yahuwah is at hand. Be blessed. Hallelujah. Praise Yah. Okay. Thanks again for watching. If this has blessed you, please don't forget to like us and share this video with others. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to this channel. Yah willing, I upload every Friday. Please don't forget to follow this ministry on Facebook and Instagram, as well as on my website, Truthunedited.com. Thank you again for watching. I'm thankful for all of you. Thank you especially to those Yah has placed it on your hearts to give, and you have done so. I thank you very much for your assistance in carrying out this ministry every week. Thank you for your blessings and your prayers. You know who you are. Be blessed. Okay. Thanks again, everyone, for watching. I love you all.